Hi, it's Jason Perico here to tell you that this month at Bianchi Honda, you choose. You can lease the 2015 Honda Civic LX Automatic Stand for $199 a month, or lease the 2015 Honda Accord LX Automatic Stand for $199 a month, both with no money down. That's right, lease either one of these two great vehicles for $199 a month with no money down. Bianchi Honda. Visit us at BianchiHonda.com.
Here to talk college football with Brad Rzyczycki, Gannon University football coach. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks like always, Jimmy, for having me.
Coming off Slippery Rock game, quick synopsis, thanks to hear your comments. You're up 14-6 late in the first half. Is there one play that jumps out at you, or the fact they scored late and tied it, or they had the wind at their back in the second half, Brett? What really, is the nuts and bolts of that game?
Well, I think everything you said was a factor. There were some plays out there that we needed to execute and make, I think, in that first half. And if we could have closed the score out at 14-6 going in at halftime, that we've been a lot better off knowing that we were going to fight the wind in the third quarter. But you turned the ball over 5 times, Jimmy. I don't know that I've ever been a part of winning a football game doing that. So our offense didn't do a great job with ball security and putting our defense in some very bad situations. If you look at Slippery Rock, they had just over 300 yards of total offense. So I thought our defense went out and played well. Our offense in the rain didn't execute very well. So it's something we got to own. They beat us. That third quarter got away from us where we gave short field position. I think the first drive they had started at the 9-yard line, the second one, the 20. And they just constantly, we were inside our red zone to start drives. And you can't win football games turning it over 5 times and giving field position to a good ball club like Slippery Rock like that. And then when we had to throw it to get back in the game, you were there. It was raining heavy. And unfortunately, we get stuck in these games when it's raining heavy. And by the third and fourth quarter, those balls are so heavy, they're just tough to get out. And the balls are going through both teams' hands at receiver. I mean, it just became a situation where you were going to have to run the ball to be able to try to sustain anything. And we got down to a point where, we were trying some things defensively. We gave up some scores we probably normally wouldn't if the score was a little bit closer. But, yeah, I thought things could have been different. It's so momentum-based. I think going in at that score at halftime that they got, I don't want to say deflated us, but I tried to pump them up at halftime and get them going. But then we came out and went 3 and out, and they returned that punt down the 9-yard line and scored. I thought from a momentum standpoint, they gained at that point and they took off with it.
For almost entire first half, you shut down their running game. They started running at the end of the first half and then ran well the second half. Didn't look like they were doing anything different. Plus, it's not like they made an adjustment right before the half. Did they do anything differently the second half, Brad, after you looked at film?
A tiny bit schematically, but not enough to affect us. It was still some mistakes by some kids being in a wrong gap or missing tackles, to be more honest with you, with their backs. It was the first game that their tailback Green came back with, and he played well, I thought, in their backfield. But it was more missing tackles than anything, Jimmy. And unfortunately, we've had to get deep into our bench at this point in the season, and sometimes when the game goes on, those things show themselves. And we burnt some redshirt freshmen out there on Saturday who actually played well. I thought our defense played really good on Saturday, to be honest with you. Our offense has got to score points. We're experienced on that side of the ball. We need to do a better job offensively of controlling the score and taking care of our opportunities. So I was proud of the way the defense came out and played.
Well, that was my next question. You and I talked about it at Molly Brannigan's, the coaches show. And I was wondering if you still felt the same way after looking at film. The defense, as we said, just gave up barely over 300 yards.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job, to be honest with you. And we stuck them in some bad situations offensively. You turned the ball over 5 times. The first play we got, we fumbled. The first 3 series we had, we turned the ball over back to Slippery Rock. And you can't do those things and trying to win a ball game. We only had 1 turnover going into that game, so it was uncharacteristic of us, and we didn't play tougher than they did in that rain. And that's what it came down to. And we got to own that. We got to learn from it. And the good thing is some kids that normally don't play for us got a lot of experience in a tough game against a good opponent, which will only make us better moving forward.
What about offensively? I know that, again, the team got pressure a lot on Liam Nadler. Did you do anything this week to address pass protection, or is it just some tweaking?
No, it's a work in progress. Hopefully we can get some injured kids back on our offensive line, but we've tried a variety of different personnel on the field with that part of it. And the thing with those guys is we just got to keep on throwing scheme at them so that they're not shocked when they get out there in the game in the heat of the moment and blow assignments. And that's what happened a couple times with us on Saturday. It just was missed assignments. It's not an ability issue. It's just a lack of experience. And you throw a 4-man front in there we don't see normally. You know, Slippery Rock threw in there, and they had some different things. They brought 2 off an edge that we normally do pick up that our back was releasing, to be honest with you, that didn't pick up 4 weeks. So we did some uncharacteristic things from kids that are experienced being on the field on Saturday that we can't do. And we got to fix that as a coaching staff and make sure these kids are learning from week to week and getting better identifying scheme.
Liam Nadler took a beating. Brock Jones was all taped up. Are there any injuries there?
There's some walking wounded. I mean, there's going to be some this week, Jimmy. They're going to be game time decisions that I won't be able to tell you until we actually get out there and play on the field. So, you know, the kids give everything they got on Saturdays. You know, that's what I love about this crew. So they're beat up after games, and there's nothing major, but there's some kids that hadn't practiced, and we'll have to see once we get out there to see where we're at.
I saw you brought in a quarterback and ran a couple times, a backup quarterback. Do you anticipate any more of that?
Well, it matters, you know. We felt,
game goes?
Yeah, it matters how the game goes. And you know, Zach's an athletic kid, and you're always trying to get your most athletic kids on the field. For him to sit on our bench and not play at all, and we need to get him some experience. You know, he right now on paper looks to be the future at quarterback. So the more experience we can get him, the better off he is. But he can run the ball. I mean, he's an explosive kid. So we're trying to find different ways to get him on the field, maybe show a different scheme, especially if we're struggling running between the tackles, which we were on Saturday. He kind of opens up the outside for us to be able to run. So it's going to be dependent on how the game goes, but it's really hard for us to sit there and take Liam off the field. I mean, here's a kid that's broke every record. It's a superstar for us, and you know, you have to pull me pretty tight to get him off the field.
It seems to me that he didn't run the ball as often. Was that by design? Is that what the defense gave you? Was he slowed down with an injury or anything? Or did I misread that?
A little bit of everything. I think schematically they were doing a good job of switching scheme up and feathering on the outside and making him, you know, making him give the ball at times. But you know, then again, they were gap exchanging and getting a body on him too, especially when the weather's like that and you know they can't throw it that well. Schematically, they schemed us well, but you know, on a dry day, I think we got a lot out there. To be honest with you, I think from a passing game standpoint, I thought that we could have done some damage to what they were doing in the secondary, and unfortunately, the weather dictated that we couldn't. But we have to be able to pound the ball out. And last year, we were able to sit there and just run the ball for 4 or 5 yards at a clip. And this year, that's why you're seeing the insertion of Zach Phillips at quarterback, is we're finding different variety of ways to try to run the ball, because it's going to come down to being able to do that. I mean, the passing game's nice, but there's games like that you have to run it. So, you know, they didn't do a ton dramatically different. No, Liam's healthy.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at rival Gannon Merciers. Welcome back, everybody. Jim Lekorchik with Gannon football coach Brad Rzyczycki as they get ready for their major crosstown rival, the Merciers Lakers. All kinds of television and everything. It's a huge game, and both teams coming in off of 2 straight losses, PSAC West. This could really go a long way in keeping the team focused. Brad, coming off 2 losses, what do you see in the team this week? Have you had to work at getting their attention?
That's part of my job, is to be able to do it. And it's good that Merciers is this week, because I have to bring the attention to them about who we're playing. They know it, and we haven't had a ton of success with those guys the last couple of years. So they're hungry. Practice has actually been great this week. Even for losing the last 2. So, you know, the kids are excited to be able to play in this one with the atmosphere the way it's going to be.
It is going to be something, I don't know, national TV, if that's the right word, but it's going to be all over television, different channels and computers and everything such as that. And Mercyhurst, in the same boat record-wise as you guys. I talked to Marty Schetzel Monday, and you know, he's pretty much like you. He's even keel and knows what his team was and knows it's not just another game no matter what the records are. What do you look at Mercyhurst to do defensively, Brad?
Well, the good thing about our guys is Mercyhurst runs the same defense we do. You know, John Thompson coached Mercyhurst and inserted their scheme, the 3-3 stack. So our guys are pretty excited. They've been seeing it all camp. They're used to blocking a 3-3. So it's a lot of similarity from that standpoint. from an execution point, I think Coach Hoig put together a pretty good game plan, a really good game plan to be able to attack these guys from a personnel standpoint and what we do well right now. So there's a lot of familiarity. They're 3-3. They do some things that are different than what we do out of ours, but the guys are all lining up at the same spots where they normally see them. Where Slippery Rock gave us a 4-man front, and it's not normal for our guys to see. A 3-3 is very familiar for us.
Is there any player on their defense you need to know where he is, such as an Ian Wild when he was there and things such as that?
No, they're pretty solid across the board defensively. The thing about Mercyhurst is that, you take the 22 starters they have, 11 of them are seniors. So that I've never been a part of a team that had 11 seniors starting on a ball club. So there's a lot of guys that have done it for a long time for those guys that have been there. And part of the 3-3 is understanding scheme and where your fits are and how you're supposed to fit different run plays and your pass drops. So the experience part, that's where they know where they need to be. But they're solid everywhere across the line. Even with their defensive line, their linebackers, and the guys that are playing behind them. I think you got to worry about all of them, not just someone in particular.
What's their strength offensively?
Well, their quarterback obviously is playing really well. When they're throwing the ball over like 70% of the time as opposed to running it, and they're a two-back system power football, that their quarterback and the two receivers they play, number 1 and 17, are where it's at offensively. So it's a lot of smoke and mirrors with shifts in motion still, but they want to throw the ball deep to those two kids, and they do a great job with it. The QB gets the ball out of his hands 13. He's getting the ball out of his hands, so he does a great job. And then you throw in their tailbacks. They got the Richie Sanders kid back, who I think is really good. He backs up the Deuce kid 24, and 27 plays too at tailback. So they got a variety of skill position players that can hurt you. But they do throw the ball more than they ever have in the past, and it's been successful for them with the good wideouts they have and the quarterback that's able to get it to them.
Was Sanders not there for a year? Is he from Menor Lake Catholic?
Yeah. I think he was.
Really
I think he took a year off, or
Yeah.
I don't know what the situation is there. But yeah, he's back,
about him.
and he was returning kickoffs and those type of things. He's a good one. He's a good backup to 24. I mean, to me, he's a starter somewhere. I mean, we think he's really good on film.
Justin Ham with player of the week, special teams player of the week, especially with the great punt return and everything. He's a weapon.
Absolutely.
And he had trouble catching the ball because everybody did Saturday. I mean, it's just, as you said, not only is it wet, it's heavy.
Yeah,
and he's a hands catcher.
Yeah, and then when you're trying to tell them you're going to have to use your body here in this situation, it's a hard habit for those guys to be able to break, to let that thing get into their body.
Don't use your
don't
let the ball get to
it's everything we don't tell them to do. So yeah, Ham's a weapon, man. He's excited about this one.
Brad, you've been on both sides of this rivalry. Player at Mercyhurst, coach at Gannon. It seems to be a fun rivalry. You're not from Erie. Marty Schetzel's not from Erie. You're both just class individuals. It makes it fun for people like the media to be part of this. There are times like a McDowell Prep rivalry may get pretty intense, and you're like looking at everything. You guys seem to enjoy it.
Absolutely. I mean, these are fun ones. I mean, this is why you coach and get into these situations and have an atmosphere the way it's going to be. I more or less say I'm from Erie, Jimmy, because I've lived in Erie more than any other place in my life. I'm 42 now. I think the way I added it up, I spent more time here than any other place. So you might as well say I'm from Erie. But I know how much this game means to everybody from the school's administration standpoint, because I have been on both ends of it. That's what makes it so much fun. For coaches, it's cool for us to get in that atmosphere. I don't really know what's going on besides my players and my coaches during the course of the game. And for us, it's another game. But the kids and everyone know how important it is. So it's a cool atmosphere, and the fact it only happens once a year, you really look forward to this one.
Have they beat you the last 2 years or 3 years?
3 years, yeah.
Oh, 3 years?
Yeah, that first year, it's a while ago, it seems, when I first got the job in May of 2012, but the last 2 years, yeah.
All right, so last year was at Gannon. The year before was like a Thursday night at the stadium. In a really bad. Okay, got that. Does that forget the fact it's Mercyhurst? Are your kids aware of that? Your seniors, like they've lost this team 3 straight times?
Absolutely. I keep on reminding them. You can't run from things like that, Jimmy, especially in the day, in the world we live in with social media and everything else. Everyone else is letting them know, and you can't shy away from them. But this is their last shot to get after him. Justin Ham actually was part of the program. He's the only kid I have that beat Mercyhurst at Mercyhurst, because he played in that game 4 years ago, and he tore his ACL the year after. But he's the only one that knows what it feels like. We beat him up there last time, so the kids know it. They're aware of it.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to it, that's for sure. As I said, it's going to be on TV, going to be on the radio. It's going to be a great, great time. So, Coach, I appreciate you coming in. I know you're pretty busy.
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy.
Hey, next Wednesday, next Thursday, you guys play at Edinburgh. A week from tonight.
We play at home versus Edinburgh.
Yeah, at home. And then, are we going to have a coaches show at Molly Brannigan's after that?
That's a good question.
Okay. No, we'll find out about that. But I'm hoping next Wednesday, I always have Scott Browning on from Edinburgh, and I'm hoping you're going to be here Wednesday. I'm hoping to have you guys on at the same time.
That would be awesome. I would love to do it.
All right, Coach Brad Rzyczycki. Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Jimmy.
We'll be back.